Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen in downtown Chicago, staring at a sink full of dirty dishes that have been sitting there for 3 days. Your stomach churns with that familiar feeling of dread. You know you need to clean them, but something inside you just resists. You'd rather do literally anything else, scroll through social media, binge watch Netflix, even organize your sock drawer. But those dishes, they feel like Mount Everest. I get it because I've been there. Hi, I'm speaking to you from someone who used to live in complete chaos. My apartment looked like a tornado had hit it. My finances were a mystery even to me, and my daily routine was about as structured as a jazz improvisation session. I was creative, sure, but I was also anxious, scattered, and frankly, not getting anywhere in life despite having big dreams. Here's what I discovered that changed everything. Your messy life isn't really your fault. You weren't born defective or lazy. You simply haven't developed one crucial personality trait that separates people who thrive from people who just survive. That trait is called conscientiousness, and it's probably the most important factor in determining whether you'll actually achieve your goals or just keep dreaming about them. Conscientiousness is like having an internal GPS system for your life. Keeps you on track when everything around you is chaotic. It's what makes some people seem like they have their act together while others, maybe like you right now, feel like they're constantly playing catch up with their own lives. The ancient Stoics understood this concept thousands of years ago, though they didn't call it conscientiousness. They called it living according to virtue and reason. Marcus Aurelius, who literally ran the Roman Empire while dealing with plagues, wars, and political chaos, wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was talking about the same thing we're going to explore today, how to take control of the things you actually can control. But here's the beautiful part: conscientiousness isn't something you're either born with or without. It's a skill you can develop, a muscle you can strengthen. I'm living proof of this. I went from being someone who couldn't keep a clean apartment to someone who actually enjoys the process of creating order. And no, I didn't become a different person. I'm still creative, still a little quirky, still someone who would rather write than do laundry. But I learned to adopt the behaviors of conscientious people, and it transformed my life. The stakes here are higher than you might think. Without some level of conscientiousness, even the most talented people in the world will struggle to capitalize on their gifts. You might be brilliant, creative, and full of potential, but if you can't organize your life enough to consistently work toward your goals, that potential stays locked away forever. Today, we're going to unlock that potential. We're going to explore what conscientiousness really means, why it's so crucial for success, and most importantly, how you can develop it even if you're naturally inclined toward chaos. We'll look at this through the lens of ancient Stoic wisdom, because those philosophers figured out something profound about human nature that still applies today. The journey from chaos to order isn't easy, but it's absolutely worth it. And it starts with understanding exactly what we're trying to build. So let's dive into what conscientiousness actually means and why it might be the missing piece in your life puzzle. 1. What is conscientiousness and why does it predict success? Sarah works at a tech startup in downtown San Francisco. Every morning at 6 a.m., she's at her desk with a perfectly organized to-do list, her workspace spotless, and her goals for the day crystal clear. Her coworker Mike, equally talented and creative, stumbles in around 9:30 a.m., spends the first hour looking for files on his cluttered desktop, and somehow always seems to be putting out fires instead of making real progress. By the end of the year, guess who got the promotion? This isn't a story about fairness or office politics. It's about conscientiousness, and it's probably the most important personality trait you've never heard of. While Sarah and Mike might have similar IQs and creative abilities, Sarah possesses something that predicts long-term success better than intelligence, talent, or even luck. She's highly conscientious. Conscientiousness is like having a built-in success operating system. It's the personality trait that determines how organized, disciplined, and goal-oriented you are. Think of it as your internal project manager, the part of you that plans ahead, follows through on commitments, and keeps pushing forward even when motivation runs low. But here's where it gets interesting. Conscientiousness isn't just one thing. It's actually made up of two distinct but related components that work together like a perfectly synchronized team. The first component is orderliness, your ability to create and maintain structure in your environment and your thinking. The second is industriousness, your drive to work hard, persist through challenges, and actually get things done. These two aspects feed off each other in a beautiful cycle. When you're orderly, you create the conditions that make it easier to be industrious. When you're industrious, you naturally develop better organizational systems. It's like having a personal assistant who also happens to be a motivational coach. Let's paint a picture of what high conscientiousness looks like in real life. Highly conscientious people are the ones who seem to have everything figured out. They're planners who love structure and systems. They wake up early, maintain clean living spaces, and somehow always know exactly how much money they have in their bank account. They're the people who actually read the instruction manual before assembling furniture and who never seem to lose their keys. But here's what's fascinating from a Stoic perspective. These people have essentially built their lives around one of the most fundamental Stoic principles, focusing on what they can control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," and conscientious people do exactly that. They don't waste energy worrying about things beyond their influence. Instead, they channel their attention into the areas where their actions can make a real difference. However, and this is crucial to understand, high conscientiousness comes with its own challenges. These individuals often struggle with what psychologists call disgust sensitivity. They're not just organized, they're genuinely bothered by chaos and disorder. This extends beyond messy rooms to include a low tolerance for people who don't follow rules or who seem to lack personal responsibility. Epictetus, who went from slave to one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, understood this tension perfectly. He taught that while we should strive for excellence in our own behavior, we must accept that others will not always meet our standards. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it, he said. Highly conscientious people sometimes struggle with this balance. They embody discipline beautifully but can become frustrated when others don't follow suit. The dark side of conscientiousness reveals itself in the form of harsh self-judgment. When conscientious people fail to meet their own standards, they experience intense shame and guilt. They're more prone to fear of failure because they've built their identity around being reliable and competent. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes essential. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." The key is learning to view setbacks as information rather than indictments of character. But here's why conscientiousness is so powerful. It's the trait that allows you to capitalize on your other strengths. You might be incredibly creative, but without conscientiousness, your creativity remains scattered and unfocused. You might be highly intelligent, but without the discipline to apply that intelligence consistently, it won't translate into real-world success. Think about someone you know who's naturally extroverted and open to new experiences. Maybe they're the life of every party, always meeting new people, always excited about the next adventure. These people are often incredibly fun to be around, but if they lack conscientiousness, they drift through life without direction. They change goals every few weeks, jump from project to project, and never build the sustained effort necessary to achieve something significant. Now imagine that same person with developed conscientiousness. They still maintain their natural enthusiasm and social skills, but now they have a framework to channel those gifts. They pick a direction and stick with it. They build meaningful relationships instead of just collecting acquaintances. They become unstoppable because they've learned to harness their natural energy and point it towards specific objectives. The ancient Stoics would recognize this as the difference between living according to virtue and living according to impulse. Virtue, in Stoic terms, isn't about moral superiority, it's about living in alignment with reason and wisdom. Conscientiousness is essentially the practical application of Stoic virtue in daily life. Research consistently shows that conscientiousness is the single best predictor of academic success, job performance, and even longevity. It matters more than IQ, more than socioeconomic background, and more than natural talent. Why? Because conscientiousness is what transforms potential into reality. The beautiful truth is that conscientiousness isn't fixed. Unlike some personality traits that remain relatively stable throughout life, conscientiousness can be developed and strengthened. You're not doomed to chaos if you weren't born naturally organized. You can learn the behaviors and mindsets that conscientious people use, and over time, these can become second nature. This brings us to a crucial question that I struggled with for years. Can someone like me, someone who lived in chaos for so long, really become more conscientious? The answer isn't just yes, it's absolutely, definitively yes. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. 2. Can you really become more conscientious? My personal story. Let me take you back to my apartment in Brooklyn 3 years ago. Picture walking into what looked like the aftermath of a creative explosion. Books scattered across every surface, clothes draped over chairs like abstract art installations, and a kitchen counter buried under coffee cups, takeout containers, and random pieces of paper with brilliant ideas scribbled on them that I'd never follow through on. My friends used to joke that my place looked like a tornado hit a library, but honestly, it wasn't funny to me anymore. I'd taken one of those personality tests that everyone talks about, and the results hit me like a cold splash of reality. High in openness, check. That explained my creativity and love for new ideas. High in neuroticism, unfortunately, also check, which explained my anxiety and emotional volatility. But conscientiousness, I scored in the bottom 20th percentile. I was essentially the poster child for creative chaos. Here's what that looked like in real life. I'd have these incredible bursts of inspiration where I'd start 5 different projects in 1 week. I'd write the first chapter of a novel, begin learning a new language, sign up for an online course, and start planning a business venture all within the span of a few days. But then, inevitably, the initial excitement would fade, and I'd abandon everything for the next shiny idea that caught my attention. The worst part wasn't the unfinished projects. It was the anxiety that came with living this way. When your environment is chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic too. I'd spend hours looking for important documents, miss deadlines because I forgot about them, and constantly feel like I was drowning in my own disorganization. The creative energy that should have been my superpower was actually sabotaging my life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But I felt like I had no power over anything, especially my own mind. I was living proof that creativity without structure is just expensive chaos. The turning point came when I realized something crucial. I didn't need to become a different person. I just needed to adopt different behaviors. This distinction is absolutely vital because many people give up on developing conscientiousness because they think it means fundamentally changing who they are. They imagine they need to transform from a free-spirited creative type into some kind of rigid, joyless robot. That's not what conscientiousness is about at all. Think about it this way. When you learn to drive a car, you don't become a different person. You simply acquire new skills and habits that make you more capable. Developing conscientiousness works the same way. You're still you, with all your creativity, personality quirks, and unique perspectives. You're just adding structure and discipline to help you actually accomplish the things you dream about. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus taught that we are not our circumstances or even our natural tendencies. We are our choices. No one can hurt you without your permission, he said, and this applies to our own self-defeating behaviors too. I was hurting myself by choosing chaos over order, impulse over discipline, but I could choose differently. I started small, almost embarrassingly small. My first goal was simply to make my bed every morning. That's it. Not reorganize my entire life. Not become a productivity guru overnight. Just make the bed. Even this felt overwhelming at first. I'd wake up, look at the unmade bed, and feel that familiar resistance. My brain would immediately start generating excuses. I'm just going to mess it up again tonight anyway. Or, I have more important things to do. But here's what I discovered. The anticipation of doing something is almost always worse than actually doing it. Once I forced myself to start making the bed, it took maybe 2 minutes and wasn't nearly as painful as I'd imagined. More importantly, it gave me a small sense of accomplishment first thing in the morning and made my bedroom feel more peaceful. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Making my bed was the end of accepting chaos as inevitable and the beginning of taking control over my environment. From there, I gradually added other small habits. Doing dishes immediately after eating, spending 5 minutes each evening organizing my desk, writing down 3 priorities for the next day before going to sleep. The key insight that changed everything was understanding that I wasn't trying to suppress my creative, open nature. I was trying to create the conditions where it could flourish. When my environment was chaotic, my creativity was scattered and ineffective. But when I had structure and order, my creative energy became focused and powerful. Think about a river. When water flows without boundaries, it creates a swamp, stagnant, murky, and unproductive. But when that same water is channeled between riverbanks, it becomes a powerful force that can carve through mountains and provide energy for entire cities. Conscientiousness provides the riverbanks for your natural talents and energy. This process wasn't linear or easy. I fell off the wagon countless times. There were weeks when I'd revert to my old chaotic patterns, and my apartment would look like a disaster zone again. The difference was that now I had a framework to return to. I knew what worked, and I could start over without the crushing sense that I was fundamentally broken. The Stoics called this kind of persistent effort prosoke, a continuous attention to the present moment and the choices available right now. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, I learned to focus on the next small action I could take. What amazed me was how these small changes in behavior started creating larger changes in how I felt about myself. When I kept my commitments to myself, even tiny ones like making the bed, I began to trust myself more. When I could find what I needed because I'd put it in a designated place, I felt more competent and less anxious. The most surprising discovery was that structure actually enhanced my creativity rather than stifling it. When I wasn't constantly dealing with the stress of chaos, my mind had more space for genuine innovation. When I had systems in place for capturing and organizing ideas, I could actually build on them instead of losing them in the mess. This brings us to the practical question. How exactly do you start building this kind of order into your life? The answer lies in understanding that conscientiousness has two main components, and we can work on each of them systematically. Let's start with the foundation, creating orderliness in your daily life. 3. How to build orderliness into your daily life. Imagine stepping into your apartment in Seattle after a long day at work. Instead of being greeted by the familiar chaos of clutter, you find a clean, organized space that instantly calms your mind. The dishes are done, your clothes are neatly put away, and your desk is clear of distractions. This might sound like a dream to many, but building orderliness into your daily life is absolutely achievable, and it starts with a few simple practices. At its core, orderliness is about creating and maintaining structure in your environment and your mind. It's about understanding that while chaos may be inevitable at times, we have the power to impose order where it matters most. The Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control, and the organization of our surroundings is entirely within that realm. By adopting a few key practices, you can cultivate an environment that supports your goals and enhances your productivity. Step 1. Declutter your physical space. The first step in building orderliness is to declutter your physical environment. This is not just about cleaning. It's about creating a space that reflects the clarity you want in your mind. Take a weekend to go through each room in your home. Ask yourself, does this item serve a purpose? Does it bring me joy? If the answer is no, it's time to let go. Start with one area at a time. For example, tackle your living room first. Clear out items that you no longer use or need. Donate clothes that don't fit or that you haven't worn in over a year. Organize your books, keeping only those that inspire or educate you. When everything has a designated place and is within reach, you'll find that your mind can focus on more important tasks rather than being distracted by chaos. This process can be emotionally charged. You might have attachments to certain items. However, remember the Stoic principle of apatheia, the ability to remain undisturbed by external circumstances. Letting go of physical clutter is a way to practice this principle, freeing yourself from unnecessary emotional weight. Step 2. Create a daily routine. Once your space is decluttered, the next step is to establish a daily routine. A structured routine is essential for maintaining orderliness and can significantly enhance your productivity. Start by identifying key activities that you want to incorporate into your day. This can include work tasks, exercise, meal prep, and relaxation time. Begin your day with a morning ritual. Whether it's meditation, a workout, or simply enjoying a cup of coffee while reviewing your goals, having a consistent start helps set the tone for the day. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of beginning each day with purpose. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Recognizing this prepares you mentally, allowing you to navigate your day with a clear sense of intention. Plan your day the night before. Write down your top 3 priorities for the following day. This simple act aligns with the Stoic practice of focusing on what is within your control. You can't control how your day unfolds entirely, but you can control what you prioritize and how you respond to challenges. Step 3. Utilize the power of lists. Lists are a powerful tool for maintaining orderliness. Whether it's a to-do list, a grocery list, or a project checklist, writing things down helps clear mental clutter. The act of externalizing your thoughts allows you to focus on execution rather than remembering every task in your head. Create a daily to-do list every morning. Start with your 3 priorities and then add smaller tasks. For instance, if one of your priorities is to prepare for a work presentation, break it down into actionable steps. Research your topic, create slides, and practice your delivery. This approach not only makes large tasks feel manageable, but also gives you a sense of accomplishment as you check items off throughout the day. Additionally, consider using digital tools or apps that can help you stay organized. Applications like Trello or Todoist can provide visual organization, but remember to choose tools that align with your preferences. The goal is to simplify your life, not add to your clutter. Step 4. Organize your mind. While organizing your physical space is vital, organizing your mind is just as important. A cluttered mind can lead to indecision and overwhelm, while a clear mind fosters creativity and productivity. Practice mindfulness techniques to keep your mind focused and present. Meditation is a fantastic way to train your mind to stay in the present. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a significant difference in how you approach your tasks. As Eckhart Tolle, a modern spiritual teacher, suggests, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Mindfulness practices help you let go of distractions and focus on what's in front of you. In addition to meditation, consider journaling. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and reflections can help you process emotions and clarify your goals. The Stoics often wrote in journals to examine their thoughts and actions, a practice that promotes self-reflection and personal growth. Use journaling as a space to articulate your intentions, celebrate small victories, and confront challenges. Step 5. Embrace flexibility and adaptability. While structure is essential, it's equally important to remain flexible. Life is unpredictable, and things won't always go according to plan. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. When things don't go as expected, practice adaptability. Adjust your plans rather than feeling defeated. If a task takes longer than anticipated or an unexpected event arises, reevaluate your priorities and adjust your to-do list accordingly. Recognize that maintaining orderliness is not about rigidly adhering to a plan. It's about creating a framework that allows you to navigate life's changes with grace. Step 6. Celebrate progress. Finally, as you implement these strategies to build orderliness, take time to celebrate your progress. Acknowledge the efforts you've made, no matter how small. Each step you take toward creating a more organized life is a step toward becoming more conscientious. The journey to increased conscientiousness is about progress, not perfection. The Stoics believed in the importance of continuous improvement and self-examination. Reflect on your journey and recognize how far you've come. Celebrate the small wins, such as keeping your space tidy for a week or successfully completing your daily goals. Building orderliness into your life is a powerful way to cultivate conscientiousness. By decluttering your physical space, establishing a routine, utilizing lists, organizing your mind, embracing flexibility, and celebrating your progress, you can create an environment that supports your goals and enhances your productivity. Next, we'll explore how to become more industrious and disciplined, unlocking the full potential of your conscientiousness. 4. The secret to becoming more industrious and disciplined. Meet David, a software engineer in Austin who had a dream of writing a novel. Every evening after work, he'd sit at his computer with grand intentions, but after scrolling through social media for 20 minutes and reorganizing his desktop files, he'd convince himself he was too tired to write. Sound familiar? David had orderliness down to a science. His apartment was spotless, his finances were organized, and his work projects were meticulously planned. But when it came to his personal goals, he struggled with the second component of conscientiousness, industriousness. Industriousness is where the rubber meets the road. It's the difference between having a perfectly organized to-do list and actually completing the tasks on it. While orderliness creates the framework for success, industriousness is what fills that framework with meaningful action. It's the engine that transforms your organized life into an accomplished life. The secret to becoming more industrious isn't what most people think. It's not about finding more motivation, waiting for inspiration, or having superhuman willpower. The real secret is understanding that industriousness is built on one fundamental principle that the Stoics mastered thousands of years ago: discipline through present moment focus. Marcus Aurelius, who managed an entire empire while dealing with constant crises, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This wasn't philosophical poetry, it was practical wisdom. When you're trying to write a novel, don't think about writing a novel. Think about writing the next sentence. When you're trying to get in shape, don't think about losing 30 pounds. Think about doing the next rep. Here's why this works. Our brains are wired to be overwhelmed by large, abstract goals. When David thought about writing a novel, his mind immediately jumped to all the challenges involved: developing characters, crafting dialogue, maintaining consistency across hundreds of pages. That's paralyzing. But when he focused on writing 500 words right now, the task became manageable. The Stoics called this practice prosoke, continuous attention to the present moment and the immediate task at hand. It's not about ignoring your long-term goals, it's about understanding that long-term goals are achieved through a series of present moment actions. Every great achievement in history happened one decision, one action, one moment at a time. Let's break down the practical system that transforms this philosophy into real-world results. I call it the Daily Discipline Protocol, and it's based on 3 core principles that work together like gears in a well-oiled machine. Principle 1. Goal deconstruction. Take any significant goal you have. Let's say you want to learn Spanish. The mistake most people make is treating this as a single, massive task. Instead, break it down into its smallest possible components. Learning Spanish becomes: learn 10 new vocabulary words, practice pronunciation for 15 minutes, complete 1 grammar exercise, and have a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker. Now break those down even further. Learn 10 new vocabulary words becomes: choose 10 words, write them on flashcards, review them 3 times, and use each word in a sentence. Suddenly, what seemed overwhelming becomes a series of specific, achievable actions. Seneca understood this principle perfectly. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Each small task you complete is the end of one challenge and the beginning of the next level of competence. You're not trying to become fluent in Spanish overnight. You're trying to be slightly better at Spanish today than you were yesterday. Principle 2, the 2-minute rule. Here's where most people get tripped up. They think discipline means forcing yourself to work for hours even when you don't want to. That's a recipe for burnout and resentment. True discipline is about consistency, not intensity. Commit to working on your goal for just 2 minutes every single day. Not 2 hours, not even 20 minutes, just 2 minutes. This might sound ridiculously small, but it's based on profound psychological insight. The hardest part of any task isn't doing it, it's starting it. Once you've started, momentum naturally carries you forward. When David applied this to his writing, something magical happened. He'd sit down to write for just 2 minutes, but often found himself continuing for 20 or 30 minutes because he was already in the flow. On days when he truly only wrote for 2 minutes, he still maintained the habit and kept his identity as someone who writes daily intact. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we become what we repeatedly do. If you write for 2 minutes every day, you're a writer. If you exercise for 2 minutes every day, you're someone who exercises. The identity shift happens through consistent action, not through the magnitude of any single effort. Principle 3, trust the process. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of industriousness for modern people. We live in an instant gratification culture where we expect to see results immediately. But meaningful achievements unfold over months and years, not days and weeks. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and rounded the seething waters are laid to rest. You must become like that headland, unmoved by the daily fluctuations in motivation, energy, or external circumstances. Trust means continuing to take your daily actions even when you can't see progress. David wrote for 6 months before he felt like he was getting better at writing. But those 6 months of consistent practice were building neural pathways, developing his voice, and creating the foundation for everything that followed. Create a simple tracking system to help you trust the process. Mark an X on a calendar every day you complete your target action. Don't track outcomes, track consistency. You can't control whether your writing will be good on any given day, but you can control whether you write. You can't control how much weight you lose in a week, but you can control whether you exercise. The compound effect of daily discipline. Here's what happens when you combine these 3 principles. Small, consistent actions compound over time to create extraordinary results. David's 2-minute writing habit eventually became a finished novel. A friend of mine who committed to learning 1 new Spanish word per day became conversational within a year. The mathematics of improvement are simple but powerful. If you get just 1% better at something every day, you'll be 37 times better at it by the end of the year. That's not motivation speak, that's compound interest applied to personal development. But here's the deeper truth, industriousness isn't really about achieving specific goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who follows through on commitments to yourself. Every time you do what you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it, you're building unshakable self-trust and confidence. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from being able to do whatever you want in the moment, but from having the discipline to do what serves your highest good. When you develop industriousness, you're not restricting yourself, you're liberating yourself from the chaos of inconsistent action and unrealized potential. However, developing industriousness isn't without its emotional challenges. Many people find that as they become more disciplined, they also become more aware of their previous patterns of self-sabotage. This awareness can bring up feelings of frustration, shame, or fear. Understanding how to navigate these emotional obstacles is crucial for maintaining long-term progress, which is exactly what we'll explore next. 5. Why conscientiousness feels hard, and how to push through. If you've been following along in your journey to increase your conscientiousness, you might have noticed something interesting. While the practices of orderliness and industriousness are simple, they can feel incredibly challenging. You may have felt overwhelmed by the weight of your past habits, or perhaps you've encountered resistance when trying to implement new routines. It's easy to feel discouraged when the path to conscientiousness seems steep and fraught with obstacles. Take Lisa, for example. She works as a marketing manager in Los Angeles and has been trying to implement the strategies we've discussed. She started with enthusiasm, decluttering her workspace and creating a to-do list for her projects. But as the weeks went on, old habits crept back in. She found herself back at her cluttered desk, feeling the familiar pangs of anxiety whenever she opened her email. Why is this so hard? She wondered. Why can't I just stick to the plan? Lisa's experience is common, and it highlights an important truth. The journey to conscientiousness isn't just about adopting new habits. It's also about confronting the emotional challenges that come with those changes. Here's where the wisdom of Stoicism can guide us through these difficulties. The emotional hurdles of conscientiousness. Fear of failure. One of the most significant emotional barriers is the fear of failure. When you set out to become more conscientious, you may feel pressure to do everything perfectly. This pressure can stem from high personal standards or societal expectations. The fear of not living up to those standards may paralyze you, causing you to avoid taking action altogether. The Stoics taught that we must accept the reality that failure is a part of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that rather than fearing failure, we should embrace it as an essential part of the learning process. Every setback provides valuable lessons and opportunities for growth. Shame and guilt. Another emotional challenge is the shame and guilt that can arise when we don't meet our own expectations. You might find yourself feeling inadequate because you couldn't stick to your plans or maintain a tidy living environment. This self-judgment often leads to a vicious cycle. You feel bad about not being conscientious, which makes you less likely to take action, leading to even more shame. To combat this, it's crucial to practice self-compassion. The Stoics recognized the importance of treating oneself with kindness. Seneca advised that we should not be our harshest critics. Instead, we should acknowledge our imperfections and understand that setbacks are part of the human experience. When you fall short of your goals, remind yourself that growth is a journey, not a destination. Resistance to change. Change is inherently uncomfortable, and this discomfort can manifest as resistance. When you try to introduce new habits into your life, your brain may resist because it prefers the familiar, even if that familiarity is chaotic. This resistance can be particularly strong if you've lived in a disorganized environment for a long time. The Stoics emphasized the importance of resilience in the face of discomfort. Epictetus famously stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you feel resistance, recognize it as a natural part of the change process. Instead of fighting against it, lean into the discomfort. Acknowledge that it's okay to feel uneasy. It's a sign that you're growing. Strategies to push through the challenges. Now that we've identified the emotional hurdles, let's explore practical strategies to help you push through these challenges and cultivate conscientiousness in your life. Reframe your mindset. Start by reframing how you view failure and discomfort. Instead of seeing failure as a negative outcome, view it as feedback. Each setback is an opportunity to learn and adapt. Embrace the idea that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Celebrate small wins, no matter how minor they may seem. This shift in perspective will help reduce the pressure you put on yourself and make the journey more enjoyable. Practice journaling. Journaling can be a powerful tool for processing emotions and gaining clarity. Take a few moments each day to write about your experiences, thoughts, and feelings related to your journey toward conscientiousness. Reflect on what went well, what challenges you faced, and how you can approach things differently moving forward. In your journal, you might include specific prompts such as, what did I accomplish today, no matter how small? What challenges did I face and how did I respond? How can I adjust my approach tomorrow? This practice will not only help you track your progress, but also allow you to process any negative emotions that arise, transforming them into constructive insights. Set realistic expectations. As you work to increase your conscientiousness, set realistic and achievable goals. Instead of aiming for a perfectly organized home or flawless adherence to a routine, focus on incremental improvements. For instance, commit to tidying up one area of your space each day rather than trying to overhaul everything at once. This aligns with the Stoic principle of taking small, manageable steps toward larger goals. Seek accountability. Consider finding an accountability partner or joining a community focused on similar goals. Sharing your aspirations and challenges with others can provide motivation and support, whether it's a friend, family member, or an online group. Having someone to check in with can help you stay committed and offer encouragement during tough times. Embrace the process. Finally, remember that the journey to conscientiousness is ongoing. Embrace the process and be kind to yourself along the way. Acknowledge that you will have ups and downs, and that's perfectly normal. The Stoics believed in the importance of perseverance and resilience. Each time you pick yourself up after a setback, you strengthen your resolve and deepen your commitment to your goals. The long-term benefits of cultivating conscientiousness. As you confront these emotional challenges and push through the discomfort, remember the long-term benefits that come with increasing your conscientiousness. The effort you put into developing orderliness and industriousness will pay off in numerous ways. Increased productivity. You'll find that you can accomplish more in less time as you develop effective systems and habits. Reduced anxiety. A more organized environment and clear goals will contribute to a calmer mind, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. Greater fulfillment. As you achieve your goals, even the small ones, you'll experience a sense of accomplishment that boosts your confidence and motivation. Ultimately, the journey toward conscientiousness is about becoming the best version of yourself. By embracing the challenges, practicing Stoic principles, and focusing on progress rather than perfection, you can transform your life in profound ways. Your Conscientiousness action plan starts now. As we wrap up this exploration of conscientiousness, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've undertaken together. We've delved into the essential components of conscientiousness, orderliness, and industriousness, and discovered how these traits can significantly impact our lives. We've shared personal stories, practical strategies, and the wisdom of ancient Stoic philosophers to guide us on our path toward becoming more conscientious individuals. You've learned that cultivating conscientiousness is not about becoming someone you're not. It's about embracing the best parts of yourself and adding structure and discipline to your life. It's about recognizing that while chaos may be a part of our existence, we have the power to impose order where it matters most. The journey to conscientiousness requires effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront emotional hurdles, but the rewards are well worth it. Now, it's time to put your newfound knowledge into action. Here's your conscientiousness action plan. Start small. Choose one area of your life where you can begin to cultivate orderliness. It might be your workspace, your daily routine, or your finances. Focus on creating small, manageable changes that lead to a more organized life. Set daily goals. Implement the daily discipline protocol by setting realistic, achievable goals each day. Break larger tasks into smaller, concrete actions and commit to taking consistent steps toward your objectives. Embrace imperfection. Accept that you will face challenges and setbacks along the way. When this happens, practice self-compassion and remember that growth is a process. The Stoics teach us to focus on the effort we put forth rather than the outcome. Reflect and adjust. Use journaling as a tool for self-reflection. Regularly assess your progress, celebrate your successes, and identify areas for improvement. This practice will help you stay accountable and focused on your journey. Engage with a community. Seek out support from friends, family, or online communities that share your goals. Connecting with others on similar journeys can provide motivation, encouragement, and valuable insights. Remember that the path to conscientiousness is a lifelong journey. It's not about achieving perfection, but rather about making continuous progress toward becoming the best version of yourself. As you implement these strategies and embrace the Stoic principles we've discussed, you will find that orderliness and industriousness become integral parts of your daily life. As you embark on this journey, I encourage you to share your progress and experiences. Let others know about the changes you're making and the challenges you're overcoming. Spreading the knowledge of how to cultivate conscientiousness can inspire those around you to embark on their own journeys of self-improvement. Finally, if you found this content valuable, please take a moment to subscribe to the Stoic Viva channel. By doing so, you'll gain access to more insights and practical wisdom on Stoic philosophy and how it can enhance your everyday life. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends and family who might benefit from these teachings. Together, we can create a community committed to living thoughtfully and intentionally. Your journey toward conscientiousness starts now. Embrace the process, trust yourself, and remember that every small step you take leads to meaningful change. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to seeing how you apply these principles in your life.